Will Jarren Duran be traded at the 2025 MLB deadline? You're about to get that answered on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show. The trade deadline is now just 2 days away. If you can believe that, time really does fly. And if you love baseball, the season flies by. And the Red Sox definitely were making it not fly by as much early on with the struggles that they had in the first couple months of the season. But they truly have come a long way over the last month plus, winning some key games against some really strong teams. And a big part of that has been everybody coming together and learning their role and just working together as a team. And with the stacked outfield that the Red Sox have right now, is Jarren Duran still being shipped off at the deadline? Also, David Hamilton is back with the big league team, what to expect in terms of his usage and more. Plus, to the Red Sox trade top prospect Jhostynxon Garcia. All of that on today's show. But Jarren Duran has obviously been a name that has been spread around a lot when it comes to this upcoming trade deadline. He's a well-desired player for a lot of teams because of his versatility and the season that he had in 2024. And it's no mystery that Duran hasn't had the same caliber season in 2025 as he did last year when he won All-Star Game MVP. And he actually opened up about it recently, how there's been a lot of haters that have talked on social media about how Duran isn't good anymore because he's just not what he was last year. And he said it's hard for him to ignore a lot of that stuff. But he basically said, I don't think people realize and understand how difficult it is to be an all-star MVP every day. It's a game of failure. You fail more than you succeed. He's just trying to go out there and do his best and help the team win. So it's been hard for him to ignore the outside noise, but it doesn't help that a lot of the outside noise includes talks of him getting traded at this trade deadline because the Red Sox do have a surplus of outfielders. But things have changed as of the last few days. Why? Because rookie Marcelo Mayer has been placed on the injured list with a strained right wrist. He had to leave the game on Wednesday because his wrist was bothering him. So then he got an MRI done on Thursday, and the MRI ended up confirming that it was a strain. So ultimately, the Red Sox had to place him on the injured list. His timetable for return is unknown right now because the Red Sox just still have to see really the severity of the injury and see where he's at. He has had issues in the past, and he has a history when it comes to his wrist. So he's definitely a little bit concerned about where things are at. But he's hoping to just recover quickly and get back on the field soon. But that impacts Jarren Duran's trade market now because the Red Sox have to do some shifting in terms of their outfield lineup now that they don't have Mayer. So when you look at the defensive alignment that they had, they were rotating between their outfielders once Roman Anthony got called up because to start the season, it was Jarren Duran in left field, Cesar Rafaela in center, and Wilyer Abreu in right. Then when Roman Anthony got his call up, things got kind of thrown for a loop a little bit because the Red Sox had an extra outfielder. And the question was, okay, now what do we do? Because they can't all play in the outfield every day. Their solution at that point was that they each got turns DHing instead of playing in the outfield. So they were all still playing every day, but they were just rotating because one of them was DHing. Then Masataka Yoshida came back, and he was the primary DH last year, but now he's been thrown into this mix of guys. They're trying to keep him out of the outfield as much as they can because he's not good defensively, but they are trying to keep him in there to DH, but they still want to get all these other outfielders in. So then it started to get even more confusing, not to mention that Rob Refsnyder is also part of the mix who gets reps in the outfield too. So a big puzzle for the Red Sox to have to figure out, but now it feels like they just don't have as much outfield depth because of where they stand now with Marcelo Mayer's injury. So basically now what's taking place is Cedar Rafaela, who's been really strong in center field, is going to be getting more playing time at second base now in Marcelo's absence. Now they still have Romy Gonzalez, who can play second. He's also played first base this year and platooned with Abraham Toro. So that's something that if they do want to get Rafaela into the outfield in a game, they could have Romy play second base. But Cedar is going to get more reps at second. And now Jarren Duran is going to play more center field, which is the position that he played last year. So that's going to make it a lot less likely that he will be moved for much needed pitching help, despite having his name at the forefront of trade chatter, because the Red Sox do feel like they need him to play center if Cedar is playing second base. And while they were open to the idea of trading Jarren Duran early on to maybe turn him into top-notch starting pitching, the Red Sox don't feel like they need a top-of-the-market front-line starter because of how well particularly Brian Bayo has been throwing, and even Lucas Giolito as of late. They feel confident that they can roll out Garrett Crochet and those two. They just need another pitcher to add to that mix. That's a number 2 or number 3 starter that they could bring in to help boost that rotation. And they don't necessarily need to move Jarren Duran in particular to get a guy like that, because they do have prospects on the table that could be moved. The Red Sox have now said that they are not interested in moving Jarren Duran at the trade deadline. If anything, they would look to maybe consider moving him in the offseason. So we pretty much know it's a lock that he won't be moved. But the Marcelo Mayer injury fueled that fire and made the Red Sox realize they can't really afford to lose Duran because of the fact that he is now going to fill a key position in center that the Red Sox are going to need moving forward. While publicly Craig Breslow had said in the past that he didn't feel it was an absolute necessity to trade one of his 4 starting outfielders to clear playing time, Duran had been garnering significant interest across the league, and the Red Sox were at least open to listening to some of those deals. But they said no to the Padres, who were really interested in Jarren Duran, for a package that included starting pitcher Dylan Cease and a couple really talented prospects, and the Red Sox did not want that. So Mayer is hoping for the best. The next course of action hasn't been determined with him, but surgery is an option. So because there's indefinites there, the Red Sox do need to play people in the positions that make the most sense. So with Rafaela seeing more time at second base and Duran shifting from left field to center, that means Roman Anthony will likely play left regularly, basically every day, and it'll take DH responsibilities away from him, and that'll more fall primarily on Yoshida, with Wilyer Abreu not being affected and staying in right field. So what once had been a team with too many outfielders for available playing time will now have one outfielder in the infield most days, at least until Mayer comes back. Duran was already a key part of the roster, but even more so now that Rafaela will shift to second. And the Red Sox are very confident in Duran's ability to play center because he played a really good center field last year, and he accommodated Rafaela this year by moving over to left. But Cedar Rafaela is somebody who the Red Sox value his offense a lot, so they want to make sure he stays in the lineup a lot. And when playing second base, actually, in the Sunday game against the Dodgers, in which the Red Sox won, he made a game-saving play in the 8th inning by jumping to record an out, and then he dove into second base to pick off the runner. So it actually ended up being a double play in which he initiated it at second base. He looked really seamless defensively there, ended up getting the Red Sox out of the inning. So it was huge. So the Red Sox do feel like he will seamlessly make the transition to second base, but for the foreseeable future, that's what's going to happen moving forward. And Alex Cora actually talked about all these moving parts and how it's been a challenge trying to fit everybody in and navigate a lineup in which multiple players can play multiple positions. But he said things will take care of themselves. I hate that this is the way we'll maximize the roster. Rafaela's extraordinary defense in center field has been a huge asset for the team, but they don't really have a choice but to go without it for now. Entering the game on Friday against the Dodgers, he ranked second in the majors among center field with 13 outs above average, trailing only Chicago's Pete Crow Armstrong, who has 16. In limited action in center field this year, Duran has posted a +1 outs above average, but actually posted a -4 outs above average in left field. So he actually plays a more sound center field than he does left. Last season, he finished as a Gold Glove finalist in center field, but because Rafaela was here, he shifted to left to accommodate him. So defensively, the Red Sox do feel like their outfield is still in a really good spot because of the fact that Duran is going back to playing a position that he played so well last year. But the question is just going to be, what does it do to affect everybody else? Alex Cora talked about Rafaela's move to second. He said, I don't want to take away from what we're doing in center field, but Jarren, you saw what he did last year. He's done it before. We trust him. Essentially trying to say, obviously we liked Rafaela in center field a lot, but this is the way it has to be right now. And Duran was really good in that position last year, so we're not worried about it. Meanwhile, Marcelo Mayer had also served as a backup third baseman for Alex Bregman, who's still kind of building up playing time coming off of the IL 2 weeks ago. He's a full go in regard to playing time at this point, but will still need regular days off. And with Mayer being around and playing third base, it allowed for Bregman to have those days off. Mayer made his debut at the end of May when Bregman suffered a severe quad injury and took over third in Alex Bregman's absence, and then he shifted to second upon his return. So without Mayer, Cora will turn to Abraham Toro when needed at third base and Romy Gonzalez as another option. Those guys are going to be, again, kind of platooning between first and third base. But this is just kind of the way that it has to be right now. The Red Sox are going to make it work because they really don't have another choice but to make it work. Alex Cora was actually asked how Marcelo Mayer's absence might affect the Red Sox trade deadline, and he said, you know what? My job is to manage today. You guys are going to hear that for the next 7 days. Just got to be ready for today, and the impact today is Rafaela playing second, Jarren playing center. There's a lot of moving parts right now, but let's take care of today in the series, and then when we get there, we get there. Obviously, this quote happened before their series against the Dodgers. And so he's basically not focusing on the trade deadline. He's focusing on the Boston Red Sox in an everyday situation to put them in the best situation to succeed and win. The Red Sox do still need rotation help to bolster that group that I talked about earlier. Rookie Richard Fitz has struggled here and there, and Walker Buehler has been a little bit better as of late, but still question marks surrounding his success rate. So the Red Sox do have to make some moves, but the question is going to be, who are they going to move? Because now Duran seems to be less of an option. So who knows what the trade deadline is going to look like for Boston, but David Hamilton is back with the Major League team. What to expect from him coming up next. If you're looking for cool attire to represent your team's colors without all of the logos, Gameday Hue is 100% the place for you. So Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. The idea is to let your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the golf course, or really anywhere in between. So I have a nice bright red hat that's the exact shade of the Red Sox red without having the big logo on it. And my husband also has a golf glove that he wears on the course now that's really comfortable for him. So he's been able to show it off as well. So it serves a lot of purposes. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. You will be riding in style if you purchase this attire. I promise you, I absolutely love it. I wear the hat all the time. A lot of different places that I go, because not only is it stylish, but it's also comfortable. So definitely look into purchasing some today. Lots of rumblings now surrounding the Boston Red Sox as we approach the trade deadline, which is now in a whopping couple of days, which is absolutely crazy to think about. things go by so fast, and the baseball season has just been going by like that. But it'll be interesting to see what the Red Sox do at the trade deadline. Now that Marcelo Mayer is hurt, Jarren Duran's trade market likely does not exist. The Red Sox have said that they aren't really interested in trading him. Again, obviously things could change if they just get blown away by a package in the next couple of days, but they seem pretty adamant. And also because of Mayer being injured, they are going to need him to play center field. So it pretty much makes it really difficult to trade him. But somebody whose name you could look out for on the trade deadline is David Hamilton, who is back with the major league team. He got called back up after being sent back down to AAA when Alex Bregman came back from his injury. But now he is back as another infielder due to Marcelo Mayer going down. And he has been frustrating to watch this year, particularly offensively. He's played in just 63 games this season and is slashing a 179 batting average with a 229 on base percentage and 276 slugging with 3 homers, 12 RBIs, and 15 stolen bases. So obviously his upside and his best trait is definitely his base running ability. When he gets on base, he's really dynamic and he puts a lot of pressure on opposing pitchers. But the problem is that he doesn't provide a lot much else in terms of value. Right now, he's back in Boston and is primarily being used as a late inning pinch runner. And in the infield, that's what he's there for. And again, there are ways in which he's useful. And like I just said, him being a late inning pinch runner for sure is his best asset and something he could bring to the table even in the playoffs. But there is a team that could be interested in David Hamilton at the trade deadline, and that is the Yankees. Obviously, it's never likely for these rivals to come together on a deal, but it has happened before. Most recently, Carlos Narvaez was basically gifted to the Red Sox with how well he's been playing last offseason for Elmer Rodriguez Cruz when the Red Sox made a trade with the Yankees. And perhaps an even bigger one that you would remember is when the Red Sox traded outfielder Alex Verdugo to the Yankees the offseason before that for Richard Fitz, Greg Weisser, and Nicholas Judas. So it's not impossible. It does happen, not very often, but if the Red Sox and Yankees both are on board with it, it could happen. I don't like it at all. I don't think we should be making any trades with them, but that's just me. These are just 2 deals in recent memory. A deal between the 2 teams is never likely, but with the fact that it has happened before, it leaves the door open. Over the next couple of days, there are going to be plenty of rumors and speculation ahead of the deadline, and one that had popped up yesterday was the idea that the Yankees reportedly like David Hamilton, especially for his speed. This is the first time that his name has been thrown around with the trade deadline set to pass, but because of the fact that he hasn't done a whole lot offensively and the only strong asset he really brings to the table is his base running, don't expect a huge return for him if the Red Sox and Yankees were to pull the trigger and decide they are going to make this trade happen. A benefit to that would be for the Red Sox that they don't have to worry about his offense being a liability when he's in the lineup, because now that Marcelo Mayer is injured, he's going to be in the lineup more. So they don't have to worry about him putting together abysmal at-bats and basically being, as mean as it sounds, an automatic out. I hate to call anybody that, but it's so true. When Hamilton goes up there, you basically know that he's most likely not going to get a big hit. And with a Red Sox team that's trying to put the best possible team out there, he doesn't help make it the best possible team. And his defense is not good enough to be considered something that the Red Sox could potentially sell another team on. How open are the Red Sox to trading David Hamilton? They haven't really come out and said, because I don't think there really was a lot of interest to begin with. But with the Yankees, they might be looking for more versatility in terms of speed on the base paths. And Hamilton is somebody who, in that regard, would pop up on a lot of teams' radars because he is one of the fastest players in the league. And he is somebody who can provide a lot of value as a pinch runner late in games. So it is an interesting conversation for the Red Sox to maybe open up with the Yankees over the next couple of days, kind of see what they could offer for him. Again, I don't think the Red Sox would be going into it expecting for some kind of huge return because of the fact primarily that David Hamilton just hasn't provided a lot of value. But if they could work out the right deal and they could somehow get players in return for a guy like David Hamilton, I would consider that a win. That to me is a situation in which the Red Sox could say, okay, this guy hasn't been that great for us. And overall, he hasn't provided an insane amount of value. But you know what? If we can get the right deal for him and we can get players in return, by all means, let's do it. Obviously, again, that whole infield situation would be interesting. But with the fact that the Red Sox already don't plan on playing him a lot now at this point, even though he's back up with the team, because they do have Cedar Rafaela moving to second a lot and Romy Gonzalez, who can also play that position. The primary reason they are using Hamilton is for his pinch running skills. So if you think about it and you think about a player and what they provide and where the team is at, if your biggest asset is a late inning pinch runner, the Red Sox could make that work without him. They could have guys sub in for each other to pinch run. Even Trevor Story is a good pinch runner because he has speed, not to mention Jarren Duran, although he is usually in the lineup. So they would lose that aspect of it. That would be a downside of them trading Hamilton, is they would lose a guy who could serve as a big threat later on. And he's somebody who you could use on the extended playoff roster when you're allowed to have more guys active, because he could be used primarily as a pinch runner then, which could provide a lot of value for a Red Sox team that's always talking about value and is always talking about small ball and trying to score in ways that aren't involving just trying to hit a home run every at bat. So even when you want to have him lay down a bunt, for example, in extra innings, this is a great reference to the fact that the Red Sox don't like bunting players over in extras, and it has cost them every single time on the road. And they don't know how to win extra inning games on the road. They actually won their first extra inning road game against the Phillies this past Wednesday, and it's because they come up empty a lot when they are in extra innings and they fail to score at the top of the 10th inning, and it comes back to bite them every single time. So a scenario where you have David Hamilton there, he could come up and he could bunt, because then you could move the ghost runner over to third base. And because of how fast he is, he may sometimes even be able to beat out that bunt. Not every player can do that, but because of the speed that Hamilton in particular has, there's a chance that they could have runners on the corners with nobody out to start the 10th inning. And that puts them in a lot better place to be able to potentially score, because then Hamilton can try to steal right away. And then boom, you have two runners in scoring position. So having him in that regard increases his value a little bit, especially because road extra inning games have been a big struggle for the Red Sox this year. And if he could help fix that, that definitely provides value. And also with the fact that the Red Sox already don't like playing small ball and manufacturing runs in the 10th inning and extras, whether it's on the road or at home, whatever it may be. Alex Cora is always trying to go for scoring 2 runs to win the game instead of scoring 1, but you need to score 1 at least in order to allow the game to continue. So by not having David Hamilton around, that would encourage the Red Sox even more to not utilize that small ball tactic and not say, okay, we're going to bring somebody in who has speed and could try to beat out the bunt. And even if they don't, okay, they sent the ghost runner over. And because David Hamilton doesn't have great offensive numbers, that could be a good role for him, would be to bunt the players over or be used in any sort of sacrifice bunt situation. So there are little things that he provides that people don't really talk about or recognize as much. So they would be losing all of that if they were to trade David Hamilton. But a win that comes out of all of this would be them getting some hopefully talented prospects in return for him that they could breed and develop in their system. And that would be a win in itself, is them being able to even get something in return for him. So it's something to consider. Will they make a trade with the New York Yankees? I don't like it. I'm not seeing it happen 100%. I know Craig Breslow is very picky in particular about how he even wants to go about this trade deadline. So I'm not certain that they would feel overly confident trading him. And especially with Marcelo's injury, they might prefer to not. But we'll have to see. Maybe they'll surprise us, and maybe we'll see David Hamilton's name on a Jeff Passan tweet at some point soon. So it'll be interesting to see how it all goes down. But coming up is the password, a movable candidate for the Boston Red Sox at the trade deadline. I'm going to be talking about that next. Just a reminder, though, that Locked On Red Sox is available on YouTube or any other podcast platform, and you can tune in Monday through Friday. I am here to discuss all things related to this team. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, or you can follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian, or me on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10, where you can continue to get all of the latest insight regarding this Boston Red Sox team. And I appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen. After you finish tuning into this show, you can next tune in to Locked On MLB Game Night, which you can find on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show that goes over every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. So basically, instead of looking at ESPN to check scores constantly, you can find out from our local experts what happened in every single game that took place that night. So you no longer have to worry about trying to look for those storylines on your own. So I highly recommend you checking out Locked On Red Sox as your first listen when you're driving to work in the morning. Get your good Red Sox fix in. But then after you're done with that, why not check out another Locked On show? So that's where Locked On MLB Game Night comes in. Keep yourself informed on everything that's gone on the night before. So make sure you check it out. Are the Red Sox ready to give up pieces at the trade deadline? The answer to that better be yes. This Red Sox team, and the way that they've been playing as of late, staying competitive against the best teams in the league, shows that they should be a team that is buying at the deadline, investing in this team, helping to put them over that hump of being a true contender. And part of that could mean getting a little bit uncomfortable and parting ways with players/prospects that it might be difficult to part ways with. And now Craig Breslow has already shown a willingness to trade prospects like Kyle Teal and Braden Montgomery, who went over to the White Sox as part of the Garrett Crochet trade, both top prospects in the Red Sox system that were primed for a really good future. But Craig Breslow said, hey, we need a frontline, true number one ace starting pitcher. We want that to be Garrett Crochet. We will give up these guys for him. And sure enough, it's been totally worth it because Garrett Crochet has been everything that the Red Sox have needed and more. And then also they traded Nick York, who was another prime prospect for Quinn Priester last summer. So one thing about Craig Breslow that is notable that he's been doing is that he has not been afraid to put himself out there when it comes to moving guys if it makes the team better. And they have plenty of depth in the outfield right now, with the big league roster featuring Roman Anthony, Jarren Duran, Sadam Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu, Rob Refsnyder, and Masataka Yoshida, all in the majors and all working on getting playing time, and Alex Cora figuring out who fits in where and when it makes sense to play who. With all of that talent, it's pretty much impossible to think of anybody in the minors right now making a break on to that major league roster because they're kind of roadblocked. It's not easy. I mean, Roman Anthony, for example, has been the number one prospect in baseball, but he had to wait a lot longer than people expected to be called up to the majors because there wasn't really room for him. And it took an injury to Wilyer Abreu for him to then get his shot. And then the Red Sox, traded Rafael Devers and created more roster space. But right now, with where the Red Sox outfield situation is, people are kind of being roadblocked if they're in the minors. And they have another elite outfield prospect knocking on the big league door right now in Jhostynxon Garcia, a.k.a. the Password, which is his nickname. He's the Red Sox number 2 prospect, but it would be really surprising if he got shot in the near future, unless assuming somebody gets a major injury and gets sidelined and he gets called up. But he could very well be a player who's no longer with the Red Sox come Thursday, because you have a guy who has a ton of talent and is hitting very well. He's a top 5 prospect in the system, hitting close to 300 with a 900 OPS in AAA right now. That's building trade value. That's a guy who a lot of teams could pinpoint and say, I want him, because he's super talented. He's developing into the type of player that a lot of teams would want in their system. He's coachable, and he is just wreaking havoc on the AAA scene. The Red Sox have already said they prefer not to trade from their big league core because they feel like the team is meshing and things are working. But since there's little room for him in the majors to begin with, Jhostynxon Garcia could be part of a bigger package to acquire a pitcher at the deadline. At this point, if a deal involving him could help bring back a high-end starting pitcher, that's a move that the team arguably should make, because yes, he has a ton of talent, so it could be hard to say goodbye to a prospect of that caliber. But because the Red Sox are where they're at in a comfortable spot in the outfield, it doesn't really make sense to keep him in the system when he's roadblocked in the majors and they already have the major league outfield covered, because they do need starting pitching help and they do need first base help. And if there's a team that's really interested in the password, they could move him for a starting pitcher who could fill in that number 2 or number 3 spot behind Garrett Crochet, and that would help them fill a massive need at the deadline without having to move any of their major league outfielders who they feel work really well together and they feel all bring positive assets to this baseball team. So where the Red Sox are at right now, if they feel like it would be difficult for them to part ways with any of the current outfielders, then don't trade an outfield prospect who has a ton of raw power and raw ability and really strong swing and plate awareness. Just very good with swing selection and being disciplined and knowing what he should and shouldn't be swinging at, which is all recipes for success at the major league level. So that's a name to monitor. He likely could be a guy that the Red Sox ship out if it means getting pitching back in return. So I'm interested in seeing how that goes for them. Are they going to ship him off in the next couple days? Time will tell. But thank you so much for continuing to make Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.